You're watching the Tesla Life live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 306. Here we are, the 10th of May, 2023, and we've got all the regulars here. Quick shout out to Derek, who was first in the chat room, and Hockey Day quickly followed. So welcome to the show, everybody. Looking forward to lots of info that we've got to share this week. That's not a surprise. That happens every week. Mm-hmm. But let's get with the introductions. We have Mr. Casey Green joining us from South Carolina. How are you today, sir?
Doing pretty well. It was a warm day, but got a little bit accomplished. And
okay, we're over a vast geography area here, Casey. So define what a warm day is in South Carolina.
Well, it's not a warm day for South Carolina. It's just warm, period. South Carolina warm day is okay. No, it's just a warm day in South Carolina is a lot hotter than it was today.
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to get warmer. That's the problem now. We're heading into the summer, so she's going to get hot in South Carolina.
Yeah, actually, we're looking at 79 in freedom units right now.
79, okay, or Fred, as I like to call it, but okay.
Or Fred.
We've got up here in Southern Ontario, high of 21 degrees Celsius, which equates to double it and add 32 approximately for the conversion. So that'd be 42, it'd be 73 approximately.
You know what a good conversion is? Times 10, times 100, times 1,000. If only freedom units were.
Freedom units aren't free, let me tell you that.
They cost business worldwide.
They require math and lots of it. So there you go.
They even killed spacecraft. Twice now.
Also with us as normal, we have Mr. Patrick Connor joining us from the left coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I am good. It is a nice sunny day. The kilowatts are pumping out of the solar panels, and that is I've got a little bit of air conditioning running, and it's covering that and then some, which is nice.
Excellent. You know, Patrick, I saw a interesting YouTube about a person that was air conditioning their house on the cheap, and they used a low-level geothermal option where they basically ran not cable, but liquid, you know, like I guess it would have been like garden hose, but it underground. It's not garden hose. It's stuff that's used for irrigation for houses. Okay. You know, they set up those irrigations. So they rolled out all these different lines of it about 4 or 5 feet down under the ground, and then buried it again. And then they put windshield washer fluid in it for the liquid that would move around, so it would never freeze. And it's on a closed circuit. And then they used just a cheap fan to pump the air into the existing house's HVAC system. And they're running it, of course, just off a couple solar panels. That was the whole purpose behind it, was to see if they could make it cheap enough and efficient enough to cool the house effectively with just a couple solar panels. And it seems they were successful, but I thought that was kind of cool.
That is kind of cool, literally and figuratively. And the nice thing about it with being solar powered is that tends to be when you need the cooling, and so when the sun's out, you're going to get that power, and it'll take care of it for you. And if you dig down deep enough, the Earth's at a constant, whatever it is, 54 degrees. I can't do that math in my head to Celsius, but yeah, that seems like a nice and easy. It's a lot of work to dig.
Yeah,
but once you get it in place, it pays itself off. That's pretty nice.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to the stories of the week. Got a bunch of them to talk about, and the first one off the bat is about Tesla creating a new Lithium R&D Lab in Sparks, Nevada. So not a real surprise where this is going. Of course, that's real close to Giga Nevada. And this is a new lab that they're going to be refining the process of doing R&D on actually refining lithium. So we've heard this before about how the problem is not sourcing lithium. The problem is refining it to a grade that can be used inside of the battery canisters. So it's this is exactly what this looks like it's going to be aimed at. And of course, we've heard this before from Tesla as well, that if the suppliers aren't doing it to the speed or the agility that Tesla wants it to happen, they're going to try to get involved with it to push the process forward so they can get more refined lithium into their batteries. And being able to pump out more batteries requires more lithium. So this is not a surprise that Tesla has taken the bull by the horns in several different industries, and they've worked with it to try to push the problem forward and solve it quicker than what other companies are currently doing. So,
do you want me to go, Casey?
This one was kind of a. I saw the live stream come up, and like at the time of day and the title, it seemed like it was one of them crypto scams. I'm like, who got their name changed to Tesla on YouTube again? And then I clicked in, and it was actually real. I was like, okay, but it wasn't. I mean, it didn't feel like a Tesla event. It felt more like the politicians wanted to show their faces, and so
that's the one that's in Texas.
Oh, right. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
That's a different one.
we should put these two together though, because that the part that so Casey just alluded to it.
I did.
Tesla just had an event in Texas where they're opening a lithium refinery. They had tractors in the background, so this was their groundbreaking. They had politicians, including the governor there, and someone from their Department of Energy, and someone even from their school system. Just talking about how this was going to create jobs and give advanced people that get advanced degrees can go into this, and so it was a cool event. But when I saw this story from Mark, I was like, oh, they whoever wrote this must have misunderstood and thought that was in Sparks, because they assumed that's where Nevada was. But no, it's not. This thing that was just announced in Sparks, it's not actually at the Gigafactory. It's in downtown Sparks, which isn't that big, but it's 30 some miles away from the factory. And it's another research lab. So I don't know why they're doing that and the stuff in Austin. But maybe there's people that are already there in Sparks that didn't want to move, and they're talented enough that Tesla wants to keep them. Or maybe it's because they're doing something in partnership with the Panasonic folks that are working in Sparks already. I'm not sure what their reason for having both is, but Casey has an idea.
They learned from SpaceX, learned from their competitors. Spread your stuff around, and the government can't mess with you.
So if one state puts a kibosh on it, you can keep going in the other one or something.
But also, if there's any like funding or consideration or taxes, it'd be a shame if we had to move those 3 facilities.
Right. Yeah. That could be part of it. Yeah. So and so both of these together show you that they're serious about it. They're putting people to work. They're putting dollars behind it. And like Mark said, this is what it's going to take to solve the next step. And we saw from Master Plan 3.0, Tesla does not think small. They're thinking on a global scale. How do we transition to what? A future free from fossil fuels.
Exactly.
Snuck it in already.
That's right. Yeah, so that's the place that the event came from, that was Corpus Christi area, I believe, where that refining element is being built or is about to be built, because they were on site as a groundbreaking ceremony, as Patrick has mentioned.
Yeah, I think Derek in the chat has nailed it. That Sparks is a research facility, while Texas is a production facility. Although at every production facility, Tesla also does improvements, and they don't just say, "Oh, that's just fab," and we don't. Everybody's expected to make improvements along the way, and try things, do experiments. That's the Tesla way.
Yeah, but the kind of stuff you expect to come out of each place should be.
Oh different. Yeah, right. Yeah. When you hire PhDs and when you say keep this machine working and try to make it better.
Make it go faster and cheaper, please.
Yeah.
Also, what happened this week, on to our next story, is something that kind of expanded what's going on in the Vegas Loop. So the Boring Company got approval from Las Vegas as a whole to expand the number of stations and lines that are going to be going in for their tunneling operations to make the loop a much larger loop. In fact, it's so much larger that I don't even think it can be considered a loop anymore. There's that much going on. We've got a photo here that we will share, or I will share. This is
after the college, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to share this. Here we go.
They need to hustle with it in the other areas, or making this public, so that way all the train and bus aficionados can see that there's other options.
So you'll notice that there is 3 colors basically. There is a yellow, red, and a green. Okay, the yellow is the existing loop, which is at the convention center and those couple of hotels that are close to it. The green is what was approved previously, which shows a number of lines, but basically sticking to Las Vegas Boulevard and branching off in some other directions. And the red is the new addition of about 25 additional miles and 18 new stops.
Wow.
That are being added to the map. And I want to draw your attention to this red and green end here, which is right up against the airport. So it looks like there could be up to 2 now tunnels leaving and going to the airport for both a red and green line. And of course, the red and green line just mean what's new and what's already been proposed. It's not necessarily that those are specifically what they'll be called or be mentioned as going forward. But
especially with them being point to point, it'd be a little hard to explain to people, hey, this is the second phase tunnel. Yeah. So I'm just going to the hotel from the airport.
But for information purposes, I did have a couple people comment on our Twitter feed, which is at the Tesla Life, if you'd like to join the Twitter feed. A couple people were debating about whether those lines were close enough to the actual terminal, which is right where my mouse is now, or if there's going to be just a stop outside, or if there's going to be some sort of transportation from the terminal to get to these 2 stations.
So they drop you off at the taxi hub. You get on the taxi.
Yeah, exactly.
You get back off.
Is that why the taxi? And of course, the 30-second drive in a taxi, for whatever reason, now costs $25.
That was the. That's why the taxi.
That's the compromise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the taxi drivers love it because they can then just turn right around and go get another fare.
Yep. So maybe that is the compromise that has been reached, but we will see as time goes along. But I believe that if they're this close to the actual terminal, there's got to be some sort of a physical link to these. Can't see it any other way, but I know Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas does not have any type of monorail. I know that.
They did have one. They had one when I was there 3 years ago, but
it never went to the airport.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But again, it's got to have that physical connection to the airport, I would say, in order for this to be successful. But it certainly looks like with the approval of the red, that they're expanding the map dramatically as to places that you're going to be able to reach. Haven't heard a lot from the Boring Company as it relates to the actual drilling of the tunnels. We saw recently that they've made it to the Resorts World. That happened some time ago, and that it was continuing its dig onto another loop that's going to another hotel and then back to the convention center. But beyond that, haven't heard a lot of information. This has been the first bit of information from the Boring Company in quite some time.
Yeah, the most we've heard really is like other cities like being ghosted or canceling or quietly signing up for, but no actual like, hey, more people can try this thing out now.
Yeah. So we'll see.
One of the stories I wrote was about how the Boring Company is using a completely different model, and how the people who say, why aren't they just putting subways or trains in there? Like they don't understand the technological leap
Right.
that has happened here. Just like all the naysayers for EVs said the same crap. And I just the reason I'm mentioning it is earlier this week I saw this article that it said some clickbait title, 5 reasons why the Boring Company will succeed that other tunneling companies don't want you to know, or some crap like that. and I was just curious what they wrote. They stole my article and just like rearranged the parts. And yeah, and it took out a lot of the justification stuff I had and just had like I was like, oh, that's word for word this same paragraph.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man. No,
that's okay.
It's been a minute since I read your article. Were you the one who suggested a good analogy was packet switching versus broadcast?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes,
yeah.
That was the analogy. Yeah, all that stuff they took out and they just had, anyway, yeah. Packet switching is the analogy that fits in my head because I worked in that industry for a long time. So
yeah, and it's pretty darn close to what's actually happening versus a bus or a train is kind of like train cars. Like you got to wait for the track to turn. You got to go through it. You got to deal with everybody else first.
Yep.
Right. The ability to go point to point is why the internet hasn't crashed, because networks of old time, everything's broadcast and the whole network's seeing everything. You can't scale that way. And that's effectively what trains and even buses do to some extent, unless it's, I guess, a private bus where you're going in point to point.
Even like company shuttles, they might have one or 3 stops, depending how big they are, and they run the loop.
Right. Yep.
Unlike the middle of the loop to the end of the loop.
And of course, with the next architecture Tesla's building, the third layout that they don't have any cars on that platform yet. There is talk about a mini type bus. That may be part of it as well. And of course, the natural fit for that would be the tunnels to a place like Las Vegas. So we will have to see.
Right. And then you get a bar in there, bartender.
You're in a Johnny Cab.
Yeah, they have the big Ferris wheel, the Link, and there's certain cars that they have drinks.
That's right.
There. So
that's right.
So get the drink car.
That's
new business opportunity for Tesla. I mean, the Boring Company.
Yeah. Both, really.
Yes.
Casey's got our next story, and it's about TrackMode.
Yes. So, over here on the shop.tesla.com page, we've got Model S Plaid track package. It's finally available at a price of $15,000 to $20,000. How do you know how much you'll pay? Open your app and find out. Because apparently there's at least 2 versions of this thing. It'll be available next month. And for the ultimate track experience, the Model S Plaid track package delivers high-speed stability, maximum cornering force, and repeatable stopping power during high-performance driving while unlocking a top speed of 200 miles per hour. Which, remember, they promised us 200 miles per hour with a future software update and tires to come. Those definitely look like the tires have finally arrived, and they had already previously delivered the brakes to a handful of people, including Marquez Brownlee, and then they kind of abruptly just disappeared. And now they're back as part of the track package. They come with the tires. You get 2 410 by 40 millimeter silicon carbide front rotors, 2 410 by 32 millimeter carbon silicon carbide rear rotors,
easy for you to
say. 2 by 6 pistons, 1-piece forged front calipers with high performance brake pads. 2 by 4 piston, 1-piece forged rear calipers with high performance brake pads, 2 integrated caliper mounted parking brakes. So they're even replacing your parking brakes. That's pretty cool. And track ready brake fluid, which is important, as we saw from that fool who took his Model S Plaid submarining and then put it on a track and almost killed himself because he had a mix of water and regular stock brake fluid and high performance brake fluid, but not probably air too, but not proper brake fluid. And they've also updated the firmware and tuned it for peak performance. And then you get the 0G wheels,
and of course that actual track package and the 200 miles per hour top speed does not get unlocked until you actually buy this package of Parts, and they're put on the car by Tesla. Then it's unlocked and you have track mode available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Carbon ceramic brake kits are not compatible with the 19-inch Tempest wheels, but are compatible with the 20-inch 0G and 21-inch Arachnid wheels. Sold separately.
Yeah, and just flash back to those tires, Casey. The actual tread pattern on them.
Yeah,
that is not a normal tire.
No.
Super grippy. Don't take those in the rain.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like it gets rid of very much water. No.
Don't even think about a Southern Ontario winter. Not going to do it.
Well, definitely not the winter time.
That is not. That is the opposite of a winter time.
So I guess that's the variability right there. Is if you've got wheels that this thing fits on already, you can save $5,000. And if you don't, you got to buy it all.
Yeah, and using a car that goes 200 miles an hour with that, you're going to go through tires too. Like this is not a cheap person's sport. If you want to do this, man, you're going to pay some serious money for replacement tires for using it on a track for sure.
Yeah, and as we talked about when the brake package came out at $20,000, we determined that wow, that feels like a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money. Then we did the research, and it was actually a fair price, if not better than fair. This is better than that because now you get wheels and tires.
Yeah.
For the whole shebang for $20,000, and that's an even better deal because wheels and tires aren't free, as we talked about. But we cross compared it with aftermarket ceramic brakes. We cross compared it with Porsche. And who else did we look at? We looked at one other just to make sure that Porsche wasn't just doing what they do to their customers and telling them to give them the money and friendly picture we could paint there, but we won't. The question I have is for those folks who went ahead and did the aftermarket ceramic brakes, do you have to buy the Tesla kit whether you install it or not and to get the software like you used to have to do with the tow package?
Yeah, interesting.
I bet you too, because if it's some third-party stuff, Tesla doesn't.
Yeah, how would they know? How would they know if it's capable if you bought it third-party and had somebody else install it? Like,
yeah, and they wouldn't install it because they only install stuff with their logo on it.
Yeah, so I bet you there may be a program where you spend $1,000 and they'll rate what you have on it possibly, but if you've put it on yourself,
you got to take it back off and put
you may be again. You may be required just to buy the real stuff from Tesla too. So it would be that would be interesting to hear if someone goes through that.
I still think that might be an interesting way to handle it though, because if you keep the pads from the other kit, I don't know, because these brakes are bigger than most of the aftermarket kits offered. So you're actually assuming that they're engineered the same, then having more material to have friction with would actually be a better deal.
Man, I would love to take that on some sort of track, a safe place where you could use it. I don't know if I would press it to 200 miles an hour, but man, that would be a fun day just to have that type of power at your beck and call. That would be fun.
So we saw a couple of screen grabs there where it's over 300 kilometers. Still turns red, and it goes Plaid.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. That's always fun. Not that a lot of us are going to be getting that, but
no,
it's out there.
No.
Yeah, exactly like JT said, I wish I had the money to burn on one of these. Yeah, we were talking, Patrick and I, about how Tesla was trying to get us to get out of our lifetime supercharging for 6 years of supercharging on a new car.
That's right.
Hey, don't even trade in your old car. We'll give up your supercharging. We'll give you 6 years on the new one still.
Yeah, just give it up. Just give it up. Yeah. Gonna have a hard sell on that with you two for sure. And anybody else that's weighing the option for sure.
Like if you burn some money, you can burn some rubber.
Yeah.
Kim Java's mom might go for that because she's like never supercharged one of her cars.
Yeah.
But like,
we should save this for one of the other stories. Yeah.
Yeah, another story's gonna cover this.
Next, sorry.
Let's move on. Casey, you're gonna talk a little bit about Cybertruck Parts?
Yeah, sure. So Tesla's placed a $227 million order for Cybertruck Parts from South Korea. And I'm thinking.
Well, that's good news, because that's just showing us that the Cybertruck production is now ordering parts for the line. So more evidence that they're getting their ducks in a row for production of the Cybertruck.
Who's making this claim? I want to know.
It's not Tesla. It's not. It's the South Korean parts supplier who's trying to show their investors that, hey, we've got we've got this great order from Tesla in the United States, and we're going to be shipping, $227 million worth of parts.
Yep, and these are originally parts for the A, B, and C pillars, and they signed a 3-year supply contract until 2028. Now, why does it matter that this is happening now? One, you got to get everything shipped and validated and built and tested. And two, remember, this is the same company that ripped out the phones from the service advisors to save money. So are you going to buy $227 million of parts to let them just sit around?
No. Yeah, well, that's the supplier has to have time to actually manufacture them too, right? So the spec comes to them. They got to push out a bunch of parts, and I imagine that Tesla has to okay what comes out of the dies and such, and ultimately approve production. And then, as Casey mentioned, they have to be shipped from South Korea. They've got to line up their suppliers they're going to help supply them to make the parts, and then ship them to the US and get them ready for installation in Texas, which is on a brand new line, is going to take some time too. So I'm sure Tesla has the timing in place that they're going to receive a bunch of these parts way early, so they can actually incorporate them into their line production and make sure that everything is working properly, or if they have to make adjustments, they can do so before, what we're thinking, delivery date at the end of September-ish. We've got, we got less than 6 months before that time frame.
Yeah, and Derek brings up a good point. He says that Tesla asked suppliers not to use their name in public. From an anonymous source. We've seen this from several companies, but particularly Apple is famous for this. Remember, Hyundai lost out on the Apple car contract because was it Hyundai? It might have been Hyundai. Either way, it was a Korean automaker that lost out on the Apple car project because Apple wants to be the one to announce. And when they announced, Apple said, "Fine, we're not even gonna do this thing right now."
Yeah.
I don't know if the Hyundai announcement had anything to do with the Apple car being canceled. I think it had
it's not canceled, but it's definitely why they are not going to be the ones to do it whenever it is coming to market.
Right.
They're very spiteful, very, very meticulous company. So there was one.
But as we saw with Tesla and the country of Mexico, Mexico seemed to think that they could make the announcement first.
I think these guys are thinking like, where else are you going to go? We're the only ones with the spec, blah, blah, blah. It's a very dangerous place to be because you've got a company that's just as spiteful as Apple with the legal maneuverings and lawyer team of Microsoft. You do not want to piss them off.
Yeah.
Very
so
true.
that's going to be interesting to see. Again,
like
more information.
No one wants an Apple car because they'll run on apple juice.
Apple juice. Oh, that is a good name for a wall charger.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm getting apple juice.
Speaking of Asia and shipping things, there was a story that just came out this week about 3 original Roadsters, 0-mile Roadsters, were found in a shipping container in China.
And unless they remove the battery power.
Yeah, and these cars apparently are 0 miles, and they are the original Roadsters. And this came to light through a couple of stories that were released on the internet, but also through the company Gruber out of Seattle, Washington, I believe is where they're headquartered. But they have offices in LA and San Francisco. And their job, of course, has been to keep up the maintenance and and the running of original Roadsters with their owners. And actually, they have a deal with Tesla direct for servicing these Roadsters. They are the premier repairer of Roadsters, and even Tesla agrees that this is the case because they send some of their problems to Gerber directly from them. So this is and on the Gerber website, they have the ability that people can swap parts. They can advertise about cars that are for sale, parts are for sale, and this group in China who had this container. Apparently, there was a lot of late fees owed on the container. It's being stored somewhere, and of course, it was running up. I think it was like $100 every couple of days.
I heard it was $100,000 in total in back fees that it had.
Right. So this is right back from 2009, 2008 that this container was sitting there not being utilized and running up these delinquent fees, almost like an overdue library book. And what's happened is someone has bought it, paid the fees, and now they're going to auction off these cars to somebody that wants them. And this could fetch quite a bit of money, especially since these Roadsters are 0 miles. And actually, the head of Gerber was on the Ryan McCaffrey's podcast this past week and talked about how sometimes if Tesla had shipped the cars with the battery disconnect in place,
well, that's cool.
That they've had cases where the cars after 6 years still have a charge.
Nice.
So because there's no vampire drain on them, they're actually physically disconnected from anything that the car would be using as an electricity source, and they do not drain the batteries at all. So this, of course, is going to be a longer period than that, but and it hasn't been determined yet. But it could be that they still have a bit of a charge in them. If not, they could be bricked too.
Right. Yeah, it could be bricked. We don't know.
If they were shipped in complete shutdown mode, then you change the 12-volt battery and then gently nurse it back to a good charge. These would be cool, other than change the tires and brake fluid and stuff. But if they were shipped in customer ready mode, then these things are going to be trashed for the batteries.
Well, the battery will be.
If you think that the vampire drain is bad on our legacy cars, try a real piece of legacy.
Oh yeah, there's the old Tesla Shield logo. You don't see that one anymore.
That's right.
Exactly.
They dropped the shield part of it. And I remember after Martin Eberhard left Tesla, he got a Roadster, and he was saying how in just sitting there not charging was using as much electricity as his refrigerator. Now, obviously, they made a lot of improvements since then, but they definitely have some vampire drain. Yeah. So even if these
Sentry mode, and I still recharge at 3 kilowatt hours every day.
Right. So even if if the battery packs are bricked, that doesn't mean they're worthless. They can get new battery packs, and they're 18650 cells, so those are readily available. They can definitely. It might even end up having more range than when it was new.
Oh yeah, they can upgrade them to the R80 pack, but if they don't upgrade to R80s, it's going to be a little bit of manual labor involved beyond just the pack swap. So you'll have to add that to the price of whatever the bid is up to. At the time they wrote the article, it was up to 2 new Roadsters at $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, $500,000. They were auctioning all 3 together.
Yeah,
they want to do them all together, but for the right buyer, they will split them.
Mm-hmm.
And by the right buyer, that means somebody with a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think it means they're going to. Yeah. Do you have a nice warm garage to keep it in? No, it's money. It's all about the dollars.
Yeah, it doesn't care where it's going. Oh, I'm putting it back in a shipping container and sending it to South America. Okay, as long as you got the coin, we're fine with that. Fun stuff.
You always forget how small these things are, though.
Yeah.
Next, Patrick's going to give us a little story about Giga Texas getting self-sufficient.
That's right. This comes to us from Tasmanian, and it's titled Tesla Giga Texas installs a battery energy storage system consisting of 68 megapacks by Eva Fox. Yeah, 68 megapacks. Now, the first question, before I even get into the article, is why didn't they do one more megapack? This is an Elon Musk company. Come on.
Probably that couple $1 million price tag. We'll throw in the extra one for free. Buy 68, one free.
Yeah. Okay, so as you all might remember, in February of 2021, winter storms hit Texas and left millions without power, without electricity for several days. And Musk happened to be in Texas at that time. So he and his family were there, and they were impacted by this. And that also stopped construction of Giga Texas for several days during that time. So Tesla, as they often do during crises, they helped out, they donated and delivered food and essentials. So that was February of 2021. Then in early of March 2021, Tesla announced that they were going to be entering the Texas electric market with, and at that point, undisclosed construction of a big battery connected to the grid. It's no coincidence that that was just 1 month later. So now, I don't think that's a coincidence. So the article states that these megapacks will store energy from the solar panels on the roof of the Austin factory, but I think they're going to do a lot more with it than that. This could be a test platform for them to buy and sell to the grid. They could try out new auto bidder features before those roll out to customers. So there's a lot that when you have a big battery, I just wrote a whole lot about big batteries and all the cool stuff you can do with them and how they can time shift and arbitrage and buy low, sell high, all these things you can do with it. So the article concludes, Tesla is pushing for changes in the Texas electric power grid at all levels because it has problems. So let's see if I can say this name. Arushi Sharma Frank is Tesla's U.S. energy market policy lead, and he's been working with ERCOT, making a lot of changes over the recent years to make the Texas grid more reliable, and having this energy storage helps that even more. There you go.
It's also that the Tesla is a virtual power company. Maybe this will help them add a little bit more known unknowns to their system versus just relying on all the power walls. They can also say, yes, by the way, we've got 68 megapacks in addition to all the power walls. We're good.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure this was always in the works for Tesla. It's part of their core business with having not only homes and private individuals having access to stored energy, but companies and grids. But to even underline the point even further, when Gigafactory Texas was being built, they did suffer a few days of not being able to continue construction because of lack of electricity in the Texas grid. So they obviously knew that right from the beginning, before the plant was even done, that there were going to be issues, and they're going to have to be prepared for it once that plant is up and running. They wouldn't want another ice storm or something to roll through and shut them down for a week when they're pushing out a top line number of Model Ys or other vehicles. So it's something they certainly were aware of from the beginning.
Yes, I'm sure Tesla sold a lot of power walls right after that event. A lot of people in Texas were not happy without power for days. So having
that $10,000 electric bill if your power was on.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Some of the power bills were crazy.
And Hockey Day asked about the furnaces being electric or natural gas at Giga Texas. It's electric. They're pushing everything electric that they can. I don't believe they even have a gas line running to the factory. It's something that they're trying to avoid altogether going forward for any of their plants. So there may be a backup line or something that they're using here or there, but they're trying to get away with it. And of course, being an electric company, it just makes sure you're walking the talk. You're actually doing what you say you want to do. So I would be surprised if they weren't. So
they just have one wall that's covered with 1,000 Model Y heat pumps. That's how they keep it warm and cool.
That's right. Yep. Just the heat pump wall. Exactly. Next,
or they could be doing the hydrogen heat thing.
What's that, Casey?
Elon said for Master Plan Part 3, you use the hydrogen to make hydrogen at night, and then during the day you burn it to get your heat.
There would definitely be some comments from Elon if that was actually going on at this point.
Yeah,
there are places where it makes sense.
Why heat pump? Well, huh?
I said there are places where hydrogen makes sense. It's just not where Toyota thinks it is.
Well, right, and that's what Elon was saying at Master Plan Part 3 is you make hydrogen when you got sufficient excess electricity cheaply, and then during the day you light it on fire and you use it for items that you need a higher temperature than a heat pump is sufficient for.
Right, like making steel or whatever.
Yeah, melting steel.
That's a good use for it. Yeah.
Speaking of heat pumps, let's take a look at the car that was reeled in Giga.
Oh, nice.
The Midnight Cherry Red.
I love the way
Does that
color
look good?
changes. Yeah.
And that is a fabulous color. But of course, we're kind of color starved at Tesla. We don't you don't get too many new colors. And this red is fantastic. I don't know if it's because we're color starved or because it really is fantastic. But at this point, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. So you can only get that in Germany now, right?
Yes, correct.
So just like my Giga beer, I'm going to have my friend in Munich buy one and ship it to me.
Yep, ship it over. Yep, get him to send you 3-pack.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It certainly looks fantastic. Man, I hope we can get that color in North America at some point. But of course, it was always advertised that Germany was going to have the most advanced paint process that Tesla has. So I don't even. Shanghai doesn't have it. Berlin's the only one that has it, and I haven't even heard anything about Texas having an advanced paint plant at all. It
was confirmed that Texas doesn't have it. When folks were asking about different colors, and Elon said, we'll take a look at something, but it won't be the cool stuff.
Won't be as robust as Germany. Okay. So, yeah. So if you want the robust color, you have to go where the beer is available. And that's not Patrick's house. That's across the water.
Where the beer is available off the shelf.
Very good.
I might have a little available here if you show up.
Just a little bit. Next story, I just want to touch upon Lucid. Of course, had some very bad news when it came to its stock report recently, its quarter. They, of course, did not sell as many as they had hoped to. But this was kind of interesting. A Lucid car was spotted in West Hollywood, pulling up to the West Hollywood Supercharger, putting out a couple of traffic cones and advertising that there was a test drive to be had. So the Lucid employee was there trying to poach Tesla superchargers, people that were there supercharging their car, into taking the Lucid for a spin. We've seen this before in a couple of other places, not in West Hollywood.
Like in China.
Yeah. But this is again somebody that knows who their market is and trying to entice somebody to come at least test drive and compare it to what they're driving already. So Casey, be careful. Your daughter's going to grab that balloon and float it to the room. But that's interesting. That again, they're trying this. We've seen it before, but this is the first time we've seen it in California, I believe.
From Lucid.
Yeah. So it's another group that know where they know where the market is. Like Tesla is selling 60% of cars in North America that are EVs. So that is their biggest market, addressable market. Certainly they could go after the ICE cars, which would be something you could do. But in Lucid's case, that's a high-end luxury vehicle. It's not one that people are just going to buy on a whim. This car is over $100,000 starting base price. US. And it's something that people have to think about quite some time to spend that kind of money on a car. It's I don't know if you can sell it in a parking lot across from a supercharger. I just don't know if the same clientele would have interest to say, oh, I'm here anyways. Let me just buy this Lucid while I'm sitting here waiting for my Tesla to charge.
It does.
You might get a couple, but I don't imagine that most people who are already at a supercharger are still in the market for another executive EV.
Yeah. So just thought we mentioned that. Next, moving on. Casey, were you going to handle this one? Crash testing in Austin?
Yes. So Aaron H., recruiter at Tesla, Texas, has actually go switch screens here. Put up a LinkedIn post, and Tesla's aiming to further improve their safety with a new crash lab opening in Austin. They need engineering technicians to support the crash test lab. If you know vehicle instrumentation, test setup, and test execution, I'd love to connect. Check out the link below to apply.
So
recruitment, hiring.
That's not a big surprise, is it? Now that Tesla's headquartered out of Austin, they probably want some of their own testing equipment to know the the NTS scores before it actually happens.
Yeah.
So definitely, and of course, new designs require new test crashes, more tests, and having it in-house and having your own private one, of course, would allow the secrecy. So no one knows what models you're checking out or what changes have been made to said models before they're tested. So yeah, that's as the company grows bigger, and Tesla's certainly in that category, having all these bells and whistles allows them to be operate a little bit more freely and secretively when it comes to new models.
The team has this to say for themselves. The passive safety crash and sled tests team is responsible for executing, analyzing, and reporting on crash and sled tests within required program timelines, primarily focusing on vehicle development, regulatory certification, and consumer protection crash testing. The team consists of test engineers and engineering technicians specializing in vehicle and mechanical instrumentation and ATD, which is anthropomorphic test devices or test dummies, and imaging.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say it, and then it was like the next words was telling you what ATD was. Crash test dummies.
Yeah, so I'm glad they're doing this. The crash tests are important. They get valuable data out of it, but every time I see one get destroyed, I'm just a little sad.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, when you remember, my Model S was rammed 4 times in a row by a semi-truck, and we came out with soreness, basically.
That's way better than death.
Right. Like we thought about taking the Volt that day, and then like it's a good thing we didn't, because who knows how that would have turned out. And it's just stories like that everybody who's been in a Tesla crash has that survives and wasn't doing it on purpose. All these stories that come out, it's like they're serious about this. And then when you see that's like what they lead with before they go into how fast it is, how cool it is, how much energy it saves.
Right.
It just makes you feel that's warm fuzzy about like, why should I pick that car?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even when it is done on purpose, the guy who was suicidal and drove off a cliff with his family,
The kids' whole family.
Lived. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Tesla's always led, as Casey has mentioned, with safety. So this is, again, more evidence of that, and gives them more flexibility too. So, and of course, as a company gets bigger and bigger and they're selling millions of cars a year, all these little things that the big three have, of course, Tesla's going to pick up on and start to do these things as well. So it's not a surprise because Tesla's no longer in a niche market. They are basically a full-fledged automaker at this point, growing rapidly. So
yeah, they're not trying to make the best EV; they're trying to make the best car.
Yeah,
right,
exactly. And just a side note to that, Model Y was the 3rd best-selling car in 2022. So number 3 overall in the world for any car. So that's that again. It's heading for number 1. I'm sure if not this year, then into next, but could definitely be this year. Looking as who knows with what happens, like Elon said, there can be disruptions in what's going on, and certainly anyone that's lived through 2022 knows that disruptions are out there, but it's certainly on the growing scale for sure. Next, I'm going to mix up the stories, the last two. Just wanted to touch upon our feature story this week, and that is that Tesla has now hit 5,000 Model Ys per week produced at Giga Texas. So this is a long time in coming. Well, not really. It's not a long time in coming. It was scheduled. We could see it. We saw when Berlin reached 5,000. We knew that Giga Texas was a few weeks behind Berlin in completion, and we knew that was coming as well. So now we're at that point where 5,000 has been reached. And of course, another lock has opened that now the Cybertruck can be produced, because Elon had joked that they had to get it the 5,000 amount for the Model Y, which would have been full production before the Cybertruck would be produced. But of course, that's probably not true. It was going to happen anyways. But it's good to see that milestone has been reached, and Tesla now is not going to rest on its laurels. This car is going from 5 to 6 to 7. It's just going to continue to go up, as we saw at Shanghai, as we see at Berlin as well. So congratulations to the Tesla team as they've made this milestone happen in short order, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Berlin beat Austin just by a little bit. Even though they had a big head start. Mark gets another point.
I was sweating at the end, Patrick, with that bet. Still came out a couple hairs ahead. So
nice.
What can you do? What can you do? Next, this story from Auto Evolution. Patrick's going to start us off with. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I don't even really want to say this, but so this article, the headline is Tesla facing demand problem because people don't want to upgrade their cars. First of all, the idea that they have a demand problem is ridiculous. We've talked about all the demand levers that they have, and yes, they've pulled some recently, but that doesn't mean that they're having this demand problem. And they even say, although Tesla and Elon Musk would deny it, they have a demand problem. So let's get that BS out of the way first.
On top of that, some of the price drops were reversed because they brought in too much business. So they hold on.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah. That's exactly the real point there. So that part I take issue with them even having it. I think they're just trying to get clicks and. But the second part of this article is that something that we've all talked about. Casey hinted at it earlier. There are vehicle owners who have an older Tesla, and it's working great for them. And there are certain things that the older vehicles have, like supercharging for life, that free supercharging for life you can't get nowadays. So right. They're doing enticements to try to bring people in that have those things, either 6 years free or a $5,000 trade-in bonus if you have these features. And connectivity, I don't know if you can get free premium connectivity for life anymore. Nope. So you can't get that anymore. But so my Model X has free lifetime supercharging. Our Model 3 has free premium connectivity for life. And the fact that I can't get those anymore makes me not want to trade in those cars. I have FSD in the 3.
I'll say FSD, you can't transfer that for free.
Right. And I certainly
for a transfer fee.
Right. And I certainly paid a lot less than it's going for today. So why would I want to pay more to have the same thing they already have? So there are some points to this article that I thought were worth talking about if you can get past this stupid headline. What do you guys think?
I think that they still have this problem where they once they've sold the car, they're kind of like they very well could entice us to actually get new cars if they didn't make us want to cling to the old car, while at the same time kind of putting the old car down, like, oh, that's legacy, you don't want this. Yeah, but it does stuff that the new car doesn't. Can I get a transfer fee on this? FSD, the premium connectivity, the charging for life. Okay, so for the current car, my second Tesla, the charging for life, they told me up front that that was going nowhere. But on my Model S, when we bought it, that was kind of like their thing. It was like, hey, as long as you don't buy a Model S 60, you get charging for life.
Right.
And it was a part of the car, and it still is part of that car as long as it doesn't get traded back into Tesla. But then when they only make small changes to the car, or they make a bunch of changes that are really nice, but you're missing out on some of the stuff you actually use more, like every road trip I supercharge. Is it worth, like, because Patrick and I both keep our cars for longer, him longer than me. Is it worth resetting early, or is it worth resetting at all for what they have on offer? And the answer is, for us, typically no. But we could either if they made it enticing to keep some of what you have, or if they continue to do retrofits like they used to do, like you could retrofit almost everything that was coming down the line on Model S and get it put back on there until AP1 came out, and then when AP1 to AP2, those couldn't retrofit,
Right.
And then they started this whole no retrofits policy much later. Where very rarely will they backport stuff. Like, I can get CCS capabilities, so can you, but that's about as far as it goes these days.
Yeah, we put this question on our Twitter as well, and a bunch of people responded. We had over 500 respondents to this particular article, with people chiming in mainly about FSD. It was mainly people saying, listen, I purchased it. Yes, I realize it was not it was not done when I purchased it. I knew it was not done when I purchased it. I was in it for the long term, but I have no interest in trading in the car and not being able to get FSD in the other car unless I pay now 15,000 US or 19,000 Canadian. So
if I could pay 1,000 or 2,000 to transfer it, that would be something to look at.
Yeah, but and of course, then there's arguments on the other side where people are saying, hey, this research and development to actually make FSD work, it's not free. It does cost a lot of money in engineering and in people's paychecks to make this happen over the number of years that this has taken.
That's true, but we don't have it yet.
Right, and you still don't have it. You're certainly a lot closer to the finish line today than you were 6 years ago. But FSD is supposed to have been done now for the past 4.5 years. So it's obviously a much larger problem than Elon had expected. They've had to pour a lot more resources into getting it to where it is today, and it's still not done. So it could be another year, it could be 2, it could be 3. But there are some people that have purchased it like in a Model X or something where you've never been able to even use it at all. Not even the FSD beta. So is a person that has gone that long expected when they trade in their X for another one that they now have to up 15,000 for it today or higher maybe in the future? That's a big pill to swallow for people that in some cases have never been able to even use it yet.
Right. Yeah, that would have been interesting if they knew it was going to take this long from the beginning. If they said it's transferable to a new vehicle until it's done, and then we won't allow transfers after that.
I think that would be fair.
That would be a fair thing.
That's a grace period where, like, hey, it's done. You've got 6 months. Make up your mind.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. To say transfers stop as of such and such a date in the future after it's been finished. You give some grace period so people can buy a new vehicle if they want to with it. Well, so I think this is part of the reason they did subscription, is that then you don't have this transfer problem. Yeah, and it's an ongoing cash flow for them. But if you think about it like software, but before everything was subscription with software, you could buy a box, has your CDs in there, you own that software. If you get a new computer, you don't have to go rebuy the software. You just reinstall it on your new computer because you had a license.
Make sure it's off of the old one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you had that same model with FSD, I could trade it in, turn it off on my old vehicle, turn it on my new one. And maybe, like you mentioned, there's some transfer fee for that. So the Tesla is getting something out of it when you buy a new vehicle. That would make sense.
Right, especially when they on trade-ins they turn off FSD again so they can sell it again. How is this not any different? Like you get an extra 1,000 to 2,000 for me for some sort of administration fee, which would take some intern like no time to do, or would probably likely happen is you have to do it yourself in the app. So you'd be paying them to do the admin work.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, a lot of people commented on this story this week. In fact, it's been one of our most commented stories ever. There's a lot of people out there, and I would say that the overwhelming majority were negative on it because of FSD. And there were some people out there that said, hey, the stuff costs money to make, and you knew the story when you signed up for it. You didn't think it would take this long, but it was clearly stated that the development is going to happen and when you would get it when it was done. If you didn't get it because it's not done, that's not Tesla's fault. But I don't know. There's still some, after Elon telling us every year on the year that it's going to be done this year, I don't think they really have a leg to stand on with that, because it's now been, like I said, 4+ years where it was supposed to be done. And
Patrick and I bought before it was apparent that Elon didn't know how to read a clock, because it's coming this year, and if for some reason it doesn't work, you're going to get free upgrades, and then we got our free upgrades, and the beta is really good, but it's not 2016 drive across the country without paying attention to the car. It's just not. Yeah,
and some of those early models, some of those early X's and S's are going to require new camera kits and such in order to fulfill the promise of FSD on those vehicles that people had paid for up front. And a lot of those people are saying, where's my kit? Where is it? I'd like to be on the FSD beta. There's no kit, and there's no communication as to when the kit's coming yet.
Like their service center doesn't know how to order it, or they've done it wrong, or there's a whole bunch of different.
I certainly suspect that Tesla's going, well, let's just get to the finish line first. Like, we don't know what hardware is going to be required for those older cars, really. We have an idea, but we're not going to concentrate on that because it's not even done. We want to make sure it's done and it's going to be in its present form for release, and then we can worry about those older cars that require those changes, those hardware changes.
There are a few people who've got them, but that's like the legacy of the legacy before you go to Roadster. Roadster is even worse than us legacy folks as far as any sort of care and feeding.
Well, in fact, as from our first or second story, it's been handed off. It's been farmed off to Gerber. Like, that's really what's happened with the original Roadster.
Yeah, Gerber and two other companies.
Tesla's no problem switching tires with that car, but when it gets down into the real problems that they may have with the charging or the battery or whatever, they're farming it out to a group that's made it their main business.
Yeah.
So, well, that's what we got for.
And I still think that if they would not treat us like that, they would get a lot more of that reciprocal action. And like I said, if they made it less frictionful to swap out, other than leasing and other than doing the FSD rentals, I think that they would get more incremental sales and more word of mouth and more like, didn't you just have your third one? Why do you keep buying them? Because I really like it, but it looks exactly like your last two. So what?
I think that's communication, right? Like that's communication between Tesla and their customers as a whole. If there was a clear path to what was going to happen in order for you to get that end goal or get that promised FSD or whatever it is, people are a lot willing to go along. They'll follow the path. But when there's no path laid out for them, they don't know where the path is, then they're just left to try to formulate in their head how they can fix this or how long it's going to take. And of course, the speculation is wildly different than what the reality may be. So that can be problematic. And I think Tesla's starting to experience some of this stuff that they're, it's coming back to haunt them. And they should get some communication involved with their clients to let them know what the plan is, what is the path. And you're with us on the path, but here it is for you to see, so you're not left in the dark. And I think that's something they could definitely improve upon.
Yes. Yeah, and stop promising FSD every year, please. Just wait until say we're working on it. We're working as hard as we can. We're seeing great progress, but don't put a date on it. How many times do you need to be wrong before you say, I don't want to keep stepping in that trap?
Yeah,
right.
Which after seeing him do it over and over, which is why I did my own evaluation and came up with 2027. That's when I think it will be done, as in like you can just take a nap in the car and it'll drive you somewhere. But
Stanley, that's 1 year before your next car.
yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm going to make it that far. I'll probably give out by 2025. So.
Well, with that, let's wrap it up. Casey, what do you got going on? I know you've got that show on the weekends, but
the show on the weekends, 20 over at youtube.com at Casey Green at 1:10 Eastern. That's what, -5 now, -4.
Sundays, right?
On Sundays, yeah.
Yep.
And it's similar to this, a little bit broader scope, but definitely still leans heavy on Tesla, and kind of gets you prepped for this show because all the stuff that happens after the show ends, and then this show gets you ready for my show because all the stuff that happens after this one ends.
It's a continual cycle.
Exactly. And then I might have some cool solar news coming up, but
awesome.
Unlike Elon, I'm not going to promise that it's going to happen this weekend. But
2 weeks.
2 weeks. If it happens, it'll have happened by the time that the show is on, and I'll be excited to talk about it. But we'll see.
Very good, very good. And Patrick, any shout outs from you this evening?
Yes, as always, I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog at carswithcords.net. The current story up there is about how Tesla does product development and how that's completely different from how the legacy OEMs do it. And we're getting a new roof. How do you get a new roof if you have solar panels on them? That is the current adventure, and I will be writing all of that up since we've had solar since 2007. So it's about time for a new roof.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned before that it's not the roof under the solar panels, it's the parts of the roof that aren't covered by solar panels under the
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. This place has had it's had this roof since 2013. It's had the solars in various stages since 2015 to 2017. So I'm really not too far behind you there.
Right. Yep. It does have a few years.
We'll have to see what Patrick's goes like, and we can move from there from his experience.
I'm gonna read it, but I'm gonna skip back to the lesson learned.
The interesting thing is we have a Tesla system and a non-Tesla system. So I have two on the roof, and so I'll be able to compare exactly. Okay, here's how much I paid for this, and here's how much I paid for that, and here's how this went, and here's how that went.
Are you considering, Patrick, at all that maybe the older system replacing the panels with different panels, more energy-intensive panels?
Yes, we did talk to about that, and the investment, it's not worth it. I even have an oversized inverter on there. We only that smaller, older system, non-Tesla one, is 4K, and I have a 6 kilowatt inverter. So, and the panels are more efficient now. So in the same space, I could actually have more output. But I get 1 or 2 more kilowatt, and compared to the rest of this, it's only gonna. It's a lot of money for a little ad.
Okay.
Which I'm not gonna do it.
One thing to look at is used panels before your removal date. See if there's any like solar farms near you that are getting rid of like 100 watts or more difference than yours, and if the price is worth it, because some of them still have decent warranty on them even after they've been in a solar farm for 5 years and they're ready to go from the 250s or the 450s to the 700s.
Interesting.
Or 800s.
I had not considered used panels. I will check that out. Yeah, just like we were talking about FSD earlier, you should look at the used cars that still have FSD. You might be able to get a sweet deal on it if you buy it that way.
Exactly. Well, with that, we will bid you all a good night, and thank you very much for watching. Please follow us on our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life, on our Facebook, Tesla Life #1, and we will see you next week and find out what's happening in the Tesla Life.
Yeah. Thank you, leaving up with the music.
Stay positive, test negative.
and electrify all the things.